If you guys are familiar with our channel, you guys know that I have a 2007 Lancer GT. She's 15 years old and I use her for everything. From midnight toge runs, daily errands, track days, even autocross. And just like all cars, a lot of suspension bits get worn out. After a lot of research, the problem with my GT is that parts are hard to come by these days. And I know you guys are familiar on how bad the roads are here in the Philippines. And after taking a beating from Philippine roads, I noticed that my wheels are not aligned. I also noticed that the car would shake at high speeds. And with wheels perfectly balanced, with hub-centric rings installed, I had to start looking somewhere else. The worst part is, just after one road trip, it's off alignment again. I mean, you should see her. She was literally running sideways. That's when the shop told me they couldn't align my rear wheels anymore because my rear trailing arms are shot. Nani? In case you guys don't know, this is what the rear trailing arm looks like. And if you really don't know anything about suspensions, the rear trailing arms are around here, connecting the body of your car to the wheel hub area of the suspension. You can think of it as the thighs of your car. It may not be absorbing bumps directly, but it's one of the components connecting your suspension to the body of your car. And if the rear trailing arm bushings are dead, it can cause a lot of issues, including shaking while going on highway speeds. The rear is super unstable, and your rear suspension is always out of alignment for no absolute reason at all. But with that said, there are a lot of innovations out there that can solve my problems. Or your problems as well. As I mentioned before, parts were not easy to find anymore for my car. And nobody sells trailing arm bushings. You have to buy the whole arm from a surplus. At this point, I'm only really left with 3 choices. Either A, leave her like that. B, go with expensive aftermarket polyurethane bushings. Or C, this one. And of course, I chose the latter one because it's cheap. And after extensive research and sleepless nights, we ended up here. This is M7. Apart from them working on suspension bits, they're also famous for one thing: turning worn out expired tires into this. Ito, kumusta yung bushing?
Bonita rin yan, no?
Ito, punit na rin. Halos.
Yun, no?
Oh, believe me, the other side was worse. Kaya pala hindi ma-align. Yup, and just like that, my trailing arms are fixed. So let's get to how they did this from this. After putting my car back together, it's time to get it aligned again. And I was pretty worried at first because the rubber that they put is a little bit more chunky than the stock one. And that's when they told me that's what the holes are for. Both to give the bushing some flex, and at the same time, you can still align it and absorb a little bit of bumps. And true enough, I went back to the alignment shop, and man, I got the perfect stance, and Zio was ready once again to hit the road. What do you think of the ride back here? What? Oh.
Sabi sa'yo, lakihan yung butas eh.
Kinda bumpy. Oh. Well, as we all know, not all mods are perfect. The ride did get a little bumpy, but it's not that significant. Where it really matters most is where we're testing it next. It was another midnight doggy run up the night. And man, Zia did so well. She was super stable on corners. Actually, she handled better than before. It may not be super significant, but it's an improvement nonetheless. I also took her back out on the highway to test if it will still shake, and well, guess what? No more shaking, man. So to conclude this video, yes, M7 did the job right. And as I mentioned, it may not be as perfect and as soft as OEM, but all the pros just outweigh the cons here. Actually, the rear trailing arms are not the only suspension components I had rebushed. You may comment down below if you guys have any questions on my experience on what rebushing other suspension components are like.